There is a kind of silence that does not feel empty. It lives at the edge of a field before sunrise, when the whole world is still blue and cold, and the only sound is the slow breathing of cattle in the barn. It sits in the dust on an old tractor seat, in the creak of a gate, in the steady chop of a hoe breaking dry soil. It waits in the space between a rooster's call and the first orange line of sunlight over the trees. For some men who came home from war, especially from Vietnam, that silence was not easy at first. At home, silence could be dangerous. It could make old sounds return. Helicopter blades, rain on jungle leaves, distant shouting, the sudden crack of something that did not belong. A quiet room could become too loud in the mind. But on a farm, silence is different. Farm silence asks for work. It says, feed the animals. It says, mend the fence. It says, plant before the rain comes. It does not ask a man to explain everything he has seen. It does not demand speeches. It does not crowd him with questions. The land simply waits, and in that waiting, some veterans found a way to keep going. After the Vietnam War, many American veterans returned to a country that did not know how to receive them. Some came home to confusion. Some came home to anger. Some came home to families who loved them but did not understand why they were different. Others came home to towns where people looked away, or asked the wrong questions, or asked no questions at all. For many of them, the war did not end the day they stepped off the plane. It followed them into kitchens, bedrooms, grocery stores, church parking lots, and factory floors. It followed them into sleep. It appeared in smells, sounds, weather, and sudden movements. It lived in the body as much as in memory. And yet, across rural America, some of these men found something old, simple, and surprisingly powerful. They found farm life, not as a cure in the easy sense, not as a perfect answer, but as a rhythm, a way to wake up with purpose, a way to use tired hands for something living, a way to turn survival into care. Imagine an old veteran standing outside a barn in the early morning. His beard is gray now. His jacket is faded denim. His boots are cracked at the soles. He carries a bucket in one hand and a coil of rope in the other. He does not speak much. People in town sometimes call him strange. They say he keeps to himself. They say he cares more about animals than people. Maybe they are not entirely wrong, but they do not know what the animals have given him. A cow does not ask where he has been. A horse does not ask what he remembers. Chickens do not care if a man wakes at 3 a.m. and walks the yard until dawn. A dog only knows that he is there and that his hand is gentle. There is mercy in that. Farm life gave many veterans a world where actions mattered more than explanations. The hay had to be stacked. The calves had to be checked. The pump had to be fixed before the trough ran dry. The tomatoes had to be staked. The tractor had to start. A man who felt useless in town could feel needed in a barn. A man who did not know how to talk about pain could still carry feed. A man who felt broken could help broken things live. For Vietnam veterans especially, the farm offered something deeply different from the chaos of war. War had been noise, fear, command, danger, and destruction. Farming was still hard, but it was hard in a different direction. It was difficulty tied to growth. In war, a man learned to watch the ground for threats. On a farm, he watched the ground for seedlings. In war, he listened for danger in the dark. On a farm, he listened for a calf being born. In war, rain could mean misery, rot, and hidden movement. On a farm, rain could mean survival. The same senses that had once been sharpened by fear could slowly be redirected toward care. Some veterans became good farmers, not because farm life was easy, but because they already understood discipline. They knew how to wake before dawn. They knew how to endure discomfort. They knew how to do necessary work even when no one praised them for it. They knew that small decisions could matter later. A gate left open, a storm ignored, a sick animal missed, a dry well not checked. On a farm, consequences are quiet until they are not. Veterans understood that. But the deeper healing was not only in the work, it was in the relationship between time and patience. War compresses time. Everything can change in seconds. One moment stretches forever, another disappears. The body learns to live in bursts of danger. A farm stretches time back out. Seeds do not care about fear. They come when they come. A fruit tree may take years. Soil improves slowly. A calf grows day by day. A wounded animal heals by inches. A field that looks dead in winter may surprise you in spring. For a veteran carrying memories from Vietnam, that slow rhythm could become a kind of instruction. Not everything is decided in one terrible moment. Some things can still grow. Some things come back. Some things that look dead are only waiting. That lesson appears again and again in the stories of rural veterans. The man who buys a flooded farm and fills it with ducks. The man who saves cracked eggs from the trash. The man who feeds his cows fermented grass while neighbors laugh at the smell. The man who plants strange roots on a barren hillside. The man who turns charcoal into soil, weeds into medicine, or abandoned animals into a future. These stories work because they are not really about ducks, eggs, grass, or roots. They are about recognition. The veteran sees value where others see waste because he knows what it is to be discarded. He sees life inside cracked shells because he knows broken does not mean finished. He refuses to leave animals behind because he remembers what it feels like to hope someone will come back for you. He saves what others mock because his whole life has taught him that survival often begins with something small, ugly, inconvenient, or misunderstood. This is why farming stories about veterans carry such emotional weight. The farm becomes more than a setting, it becomes a mirror. A flooded field is not only land underwater, it is a problem everyone thinks is hopeless. A basket of cracked eggs is not only farm waste, it is fragile life hidden inside damage. A pile of rotting pumpkins is not only garbage, it is winter feed if someone has enough patience to sort it. A stone pit full of sour grass is not madness, it is preservation. A dusty slope filled with bitter roots is not foolishness, it is medicine waiting underground. And the veteran, because of everything he has endured, is the one person willing to look twice. Many Vietnam veterans came home to a culture eager to move on. The war was complicated, painful, and divisive. Some people wanted to forget it. Some wanted to argue about it. Some wanted to blame the men who had been sent to fight it. But a farm does not ask a man to defend history. It asks whether the fence will hold. It asks whether the animals have water. It asks whether he will show up tomorrow. That is a different kind of welcome. Not sentimental, not soft, but honest. A farm can be cruel. Drought comes, animals die, crops fail, machinery breaks when money is short. Winter does not care about a man's memories. But this difficulty can also be grounding, because it belongs to the present. It gives pain a job. A veteran may not be able to fix the past, but he can fix the gate. He can cut hay. He can carry a newborn lamb into the kitchen and keep it warm. He can hold a cracked egg in his palm and wait for it to move. He can kneel in black soil and press seeds into the ground. These acts are small, but they are not meaningless. They are the opposite of destruction. They are a daily vote for life. For some men, animals became the first bridge back to tenderness. Human relationships could feel complicated after war. People expected conversation. They expected normal reactions. They expected a man to be who he had been before. Animals did not. A horse might only need calm hands. A dog might only need consistency. Cows might only need feeding, shelter, and routine. Chickens might only need protection from the cold. Care could begin without words, and sometimes words returned later. A veteran who could not explain himself at the dinner table might tell a story while repairing a chicken coop. He might mention a memory while checking fence posts with a grandson. He might say more to a dog in the barn than he had said to people in years. The farm did not force him open. It gave him space. That space matters. In many rural communities, veterans were known less by their biographies than by their habits. The old man who always opened the feed store at dawn. the one who raised ducks in the flooded bottomland, the one who saved every nail from broken boards, the one who never wasted food, the one who would take in any stray animal, the one who looked rough but had the gentlest hands in the county. People might laugh at him, they might call him stubborn, they might think he was living in the past. But over time, they often learned something. His strange choices were not random. They came from a mind trained by necessity. A man who has lived through scarcity does not throw away warmth, food, water, shelter, or life. He knows that the difference between useless and useful is often knowledge. The difference between trash and survival is often timing. The difference between foolishness and wisdom is often whether you are willing to wait long enough to see the result. That is the heart of the veteran farmer story. The community laughs early, the land answers late, and when the answer comes, it does not need to shout. The field turns green, the barn fills with chirping, the cows stay strong, the spring begins to flow, the orchard blooms. The old man stands quietly, not because he wants revenge, but because the truth has finally become visible. There is something deeply American in this image. An old veteran in worn clothes, standing beside a rusty pickup, with animals gathered around him and a field behind him that everyone else had given up on. It is not glamorous. It is not polished. It does not belong to the world of speeches and medals. It belongs to the world of work. Many veterans never wanted to be treated like symbols. They wanted peace, dignity, and something useful to do with the rest of their lives. Farm life could offer that. Not perfectly, not easily, but honestly. It let them become protectors again, without war. Protectors of animals, protectors of soil, protectors of water, protectors of old knowledge, protectors of fragile life that others had overlooked. And perhaps this is why the image of the veteran farmer still feels so powerful. He carries both pain and gentleness. He has seen what people can destroy, yet he chooses to grow things. He has known fear, yet he walks into the barn before dawn. He has known loss, yet he keeps saving what others throw away. A veteran who plants a field is making a statement. He is saying tomorrow still matters. A veteran who raises animals is saying life is still worth tending. A veteran who stays on the farm through drought, mockery, debt, and loneliness is saying he has not surrendered. The land may not erase the war, but it can give the man a place to put his hands. It can give him mornings that begin with purpose instead of memory. It can give him seasons, and seasons are important because they remind a person that life is not one permanent weather. There is winter, there is mud, there is drought, there is flood, but there is also thaw, there is also rain. There is also the first green shoot breaking through ground that looked dead. That is the visual language of hope. And for the Vietnam veteran who came home carrying a war that others did not understand, maybe the farm offered one simple promise. You do not have to explain everything today. Just feed the animals. Just mend the fence. Just keep the small things alive. And maybe slowly, the small things will help keep you alive too. As the sun rises over the old barn, the veteran steps into the yard. The air smells of hay, diesel, damp earth, and animals waking. His knees ache, his hands are scarred, his cap is stained with years of work. Behind him the house is quiet. Ahead of him the day is already waiting. A calf calls from the pen. A rooster shakes himself awake. Ducks gather at the flooded edge of the field. Somewhere in the garden, seedlings push through the soil. The old man pauses for a moment and looks across the land. This is not the life he imagined when he was young. It is not the life he left for war. It is not untouched by pain. But it is alive, and so is he. He lifts the bucket, opens the gate, and walks into the morning.